Okay, Bob, just continue on with what you're saying about the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, my first choices to go in the Hall of Fame were Elfie Davey, who was a Salmon Valley, and Jim Douglas, who was an Adanac and a teammate of mine. Both were terrific goal scorers. I don't think Elfie Davey ever played defense in his life, but he was an excitement that just waiting to happen. And he contributed greatly to it, and he was the goal scorer deluxe in those days. Jimmy Douglas, on the other hand, was a terrific goal scorer, and he was a kind of a guy that would play at both ends and play every minute of the game. But as I say, those were my choices, and those were the kind of guys that I think represent the game of lacrosse. And
in the spirit of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and they both went in as charter members.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
What about goalkeepers? Any goalkeepers in the Hall of Fame?
Henry Baker went in as a charter.
Did he?
Yep, from the natives. Walt Lee is in there. Herbie Delmonico. Bill Whitaker from St. Catherine's, who I would put in there at any time. He was a terrific goalkeeper. Pete Anthony's in there.
He is.
Yeah. And there are a lot of good goalies in there. And they deserve to be in there because when I first started, they didn't have very much equipment on.
No.
And they survived.
Yeah. What about referees, officials, and so on? Are they any of these people?
Well, I think the ones that I think of, Harry Gilmore, Jimmy Gunn, Hugh Gifford.
Oh, yes.
They all contributed to the game, and they all added color to it. And I can think in the early days when some added more color than others, because that's what the people wanted in those days. That was a tough job, and there were some referees that were out there over their head. They couldn't handle it. They just couldn't handle it. But the ones I mentioned, and I probably have forgotten some other good ones, but they could handle it, and it didn't matter who it was or how big they were. They were in charge of the game.
What sort of a ceremony did they have when you were inducted into the Hall of Fame? Was it
I think
occasion?
I was pleasantly surprised, and I hadn't been to one. I probably probably had a chip on my shoulder because I wasn't in there. But when I was invited to go, I went, and my wife and family and some friends went there, and it was very, very well organized, and we had individual tables for ourselves, and the presentation was done very well, and each player had a list of his accomplishments, whether he had any or not, advertised to the crowd, and you got a good reception, and you got your plaque, and I was very pleased, and a nice dinner, and a lot of old time lacrosse players and fans there. I bumped into John and Roy Cavalin, and I was just pleased to see them. I think they do a good job of the presentation. It's not the same caliber as the NFL or but in a limited way, and they don't have much money. But it was worthwhile.
So it's quite a group of people there too to witness all this.
Big crowd there, and they do a good job of getting your records and so forth. They have very good records, as a matter of fact. And they go right down the list, and by the time you finish, you think you're pretty good.
What did they say about you? You'd like to tell your grandchildren?
Well, they did, and of course I had to say a few words.
Yes.
And what I said tied in with it, and I mentioned some of the things that I've mentioned here today. That
Yes.
I got my first lacrosse stick when I was 9 or 10, and it was in connection with the 1928 Salmon Bellies, and my connection with these older players, but my daughter is a great one. She's the one who does it for the grandchildren. She's done a few things.
Isn't that marvelous? Such as what?
Pardon?
What did she do? What does she do for you? Tell them about it?
Well, yeah, and she did it for me too. She gave a nice little an ode to Bob Phelan.
Isn't that marvelous?
Yeah, and she did that.
Oh, that's good.
I was quite pleased with that. I'll show it to you before you leave. We won't put it here.
It's marvelous.
Yeah. But,
well, I'd certainly like to congratulate you for that achievement and all your achievements.
Well, thank you.
And what I've heard about you certainly comes out, and it's marvelous just to witness all this. I just wonder if there'd be any further comments you'd like to make, or any things that you might want to bring up and I haven't brought up, or something you'd like to add, or something discussed, something that hasn't been discussed.
Well, I think that the one thing, and things have changed an awful lot, but I grew up in Westminster, and there were lots of sports heroes, and I'll tell you, I was going to say the majority, but all of them, as far as I know, kept out of trouble. And they all did well, and speaking of our team specifically, all did very well in the business world and family world, and just have had they just contributed to the citizens, to the area, and I'm pretty proud of them. And this goes back. I can't talk about any import that might have been up here for a day or other here, and like talking about baseball or soccer or something. But the fellows that grew up playing sport, and I guess in some cases they used their experience in sport to get employment, but as I always said when I was where I'm going to hire somebody, you can use that experience to get this job, but it's not going to help you keep it.
No,
you see.
No, that's right.
And this is what I say, that they all have done well, and they're good family men and good citizens.
There seemed to be a very strong fellowship among the Adanacs, as you describe it. It wasn't just when the talk about a team, it was a real team.
Yeah.
What about the Adanacs today? Do you think they still maintain that kind of spirit, or is it the changing times have changed?
Well, I think changing times, and again, the Adanacs now have imports. We didn't have imports, you see.
No.
I think that for example, I'll say the nucleus probably. Bob Lee, Jim Douglas, Ted Bradbury, Harry Kennedy, myself, all went to the same high school, the technical school together, you see, and we all knew each other. And we didn't spend all that time with each other, but
it was a homegrown team.
Oh, absolutely. And we did spend time with, and this is partly what that little ode says in there. But we, for example, 6 weeks ago, the survivors of our Adanac team had lunch.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and we try and do that every year.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and well, I said there's only 6 or 7 of us left, and
is that right?
Yeah, and we're all in various states of disrepair.
No.
But we do get together, and I keep in touch with 2 or 3 of them. We phone back and forth every couple of weeks just to make sure we're around. Punk Kennedy, I talked to him just the other day on the phone.
Oh, yes.
You know.
I knew his brother Jack.
Oh, did you?
Well, and Jimmy Kennedy.
Oh, did you?
Jimmy was an interesting
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, Jim's down in the desert right now.
Is he?
Yeah, down in Desert Hot Springs, I think. Yeah.
I remember one time people would talk to us and they said, "What are you kids going to do when you grow up?" And Jimmy said, "Well, I'm going to be the mayor of New Westminster for starters."
Well, he could have been.
Yeah.
He had the doll.
Oh, yeah.
He had the doll.
Yeah. He was all right.
No, Punk's the kind of a guy that he'd give you the shirt off his back.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And as I say, I think if I phoned any one of them right now and needed a hand somehow,
Yeah, sure.
you know,
Yeah.
and some more than others, but we sort of I spent a lot of time with the Mathesons and myself when we were playing.
Yeah.
Rudd and Ken Matheson and myself, and the girls. The girls were all friends, and this is when you mention the Hall of Fame, you see fellows like Ken Matheson and Rand Matheson they might have been thought of, but they're not in there, and they contributed an awful lot.
Of course, yeah.
And people might disagree with it, but boy, they did, and they were dependable, But that's the way it goes. But as I say, we didn't have to go out together with 10 of us or 12 of us. 2 couples, 3 couples, 4 couples, or a picnic, or even going to work at Fraser Mills. Most of us worked in the same department at the time.
Yes. So I don't imagine that too many Coquitlam people are on the Adanacs team, and it's called the Coquitlam Adanacs, but not very many Coquitlam people play for them.
I don't really know.
No, I don't know. No. But Westminster, with the Sam Valleys, well, of course, they're these empires, but the Adanacs particularly, that's why I was interested in it. They're the homegrown team.
Absolutely.
And it was truly the New Westminster Adanacs.
Absolutely.
It wasn't the Ruby Terriers and Sam Valleys. It was the New Westminster Adanacs.
Yep.
And that's very good. Well, this has been very, very interesting. You think of anything else you might want to say? Are we leaving anything out?
Well, gee, I've talked an awful lot.
No, you've given me some very, very valuable information.
But the cross is, I think it taught me a lot to give and take, and the other sports. I played all sports, of course, but lacrosse, the way it was give and take, and it was a tradition in Westminster, and I was sort of glad to follow. I had five brothers, and none of them played much. One played lacrosse, but none of them really played much lacrosse. You see. So I'm the one, and I actually loved it. And
sure.
So you go from there, and I enjoyed the fellows that we played with, and you knew that they were there for you.
Well, Bob, this has been a very informative interview and very interesting, highly interesting. And I want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much for listening to me.
It was a pleasure.
Good. I'll just show you